Good morning. My name is Amanda Berthenu, and my presentation is on the impact gender biases have on women's lives. To begin, what is gender bias? It is an unfair difference in the treatment of men and women because of their sex. Gender biases start being instilled into people in early childhood and affect women in all aspects of their lives. The stimulus material I used was Lewis Carroll's Through the Looking Glass. In part of the story, the main character Alice wanted to go outside and play with the boys, but she had to stay inside the house. This supports the gender stereotype that girls in that time were supposed to remain inside and behave while the boys were able to play around freely. Using this information, I then came up with my research question: how do the gender biases and stereotypes people learn from an early age affect the way women are perceived and treated in society? My argument is that gender biases and stereotypes one learns will affect the way that women are treated. Continuing to perpetuate these gender biases to young children will constantly affect how women are perceived and treated differently in all aspects of their lives. My counter-argument is that gender biases do not affect everyone, as many people, mainly men, believe that gender equality between men and women has already been reached. This can be due to the fact that the people who believe this do not experience the effects of gender biases directly. The gender biases that are so prevalent in today's society are usually learned during childhood. Young girls are often told that they are weak and boys are the strongest out of the two sexes. For example, when young children are complimented, young girls are most often told that they are beautiful, while young boys are most often told that they are strong. There are also a number of gender biases present in classic fairy tales. The princesses are portrayed as young, slim, and fit, while the villains are usually portrayed as fat, bipolar, and often have darker skin. Fairy tales also teach girls that they don't have to possess significant abilities, and that as long as they are beautiful, they will continuously have a good life. Fairy tales also pose the idea that every girl needs to be saved by a prince. This can lead girls to be too dependent on romantic relationships, which can inhibit the development of their independence. Gender bias also affects women and their health. In the article, Because Women's Lives Matter, We Need to Eliminate Gender Bias, author Joanne Griff-Alpach states this quote: "In a healthcare setting, bias against women may be manifested when women are diagnosed, counseled, or treated otherwise, managed not just differently, but to a lesser degree of adherence to established standards of care than men with comparable health status. Doctors are less likely to believe a woman's symptoms than a man's. This leads to increased mortality and complication rates in women, as the doctors sometimes don't realize the woman was right until later on." When it comes to the workplace, women are constantly facing gender biases from their colleagues. In the workplace, women are expected to do the chores around the office like organizing and cleaning. New York University psychologist Madeline Hyman conducted a study on how women are seen as the helpers of the office. The participants, who were both men and women, were asked to stay late and help their colleagues. Their colleagues then rated them based on how they answered. It was found that a man's offer to help was rated 14% more favorable than a woman's, and conversely, when both men and women declined to help, the woman was rated 12% lower than that of a man's. This can be due to the fact that women are the ones expected to always help, so when the man offers to help, it is seen as a great favor. Women are also criticized for juggling a family and their job. Christine Rowe, author of How Does Gender Bias Really Affect Women in the Workplace, supports this by stating this quote: "Companies found men with children responsible and stable, but skeptical about a woman's ability to juggle motherhood and a job." In addition, women in meeting settings are often talked over and interrupted in the meetings by men. Men interrupt people about twice as often as women and are 3 times as likely to interrupt women than men. It was also found that women's ideas often go unheard during meetings until a man says it. Here's a short video showing how men and women in high job positions are perceived differently.
Is worn out faces, bright and early for their daily races, going nowhere, and their tears are filling up their glasses. No expression, no expression. Mad world.
and the woman both had the same job, they were always perceived differently because of their gender. These are my solutions. The first solution is to work against these stereotypes and biases. I want to encourage teachers, parents, and leaders to discuss and dismantle the gender biases that have become prevalent in everyday life. My second solution is to involve girls and boys in tasks and activities that have been traditionally thought of as gender specific. This can encourage and teach children that they can do anything despite their gender. My final solution is to encourage girls to voice their opinions and thoughts. This can help teach girls to always stand up for themselves when something is wrong. One limitation is that it is hard to dismantle these biases as they have become part of society for a very long time. The other limitation is that even if these biases are gone, women are still at a disadvantage compared to men. For example, women are still paid less than men for doing the same job. With my research, I have reached the conclusion that overall, the gender biases that people learn at a young age constantly negatively affect women later in life. During childhood, girls are told that boys are stronger, and classic children's stories like fairy tales also enforce unrealistic beauty standards upon young girls. At work, women are expected to do the office chores, and they are also less likely to have their ideas heard in a meeting setting. And women are less likely to be believed by doctors when they tell them their symptoms. This can also increase their health risks. These are my works cited, and that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, Amanda, how did you select the strategies you used to gather information or conduct research, and were they effective?
I gathered, I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes. How did you select the strategies you used to gather information or conduct research?
I selected the strategies to conduct research by the ways I did in PT1, so I also used EBSCO. I looked online for other peer-reviewed articles, and I used those sources for my.
And how effective were they?
Oh, they were. It was very effective. You can on EBSCO you can see all the peer-reviewed sources, and you can just put like whatever information you want, and it will give you an article.
Okay. And what advice would you have for others, researchers, to consider this topic?
The advice I would have to other researchers that want to look into gender bias and how it affects women in society is to know what area they want to look for gender bias, because it is so prevalent in everything. So I would say before they conduct research, if they want to do like gender bias in education or in media, because it's so widespread that you need to know what area you want to look into.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.